wisdom is required for us to excel in the workplace?
Your skills, your qualification will get you only so far.
Yeah.
But it's another territory, and you've got to understand how it operates.
Yes.
And it's only wisdom that will give you the insight
Into
you
that
need
territory.
into that territory to be able to function and really excel. Workplace can be a battle. It depends. It can be a battlefield.
Wow.
So you then need to
You need arsenals, you need tools, and wisdom is a tool. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Career Show with me, Yanmo. On today's show, I have a very, very special guest. Now, she's very special to me, and I'm sure by the time you've listened to this whole chat show, you would know why she is special. Her name is Morenikeji, MBE. Right, welcome, Morenike.
Thank you, Yaman. It's a delight to be here.
I'm so excited. I'm super excited. Now, for those of you who do not know Morenike, she's a thought leader. She is a community leader, and she has such a huge passion for the Black and ethnic minority, especially in the workplace. Now, Morenike has a CV longer than my whole body, right? So we're not going to go into it. But I wanted Morenike to come have a conversation with myself because Morenike is a person of faith.
Yes.
And Morenike has been through so many different parts to get to where she is. She's a financial director as well. So on today's show, we're going to be talking about how Morenike's faith has helped her, or not helped her, perhaps even hindered her on her career journey. Does that make sense?
It does.
Right. So, Morenike, welcome again.
Thank you.
It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you so much.
I get so excited when I'm with Morenike, honestly.
Same here. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
So, when I say, Morenike, that you're a person of faith, what kind of faith do you profess, and what kind of faith are you a person of?
I am a woman of faith. I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, so I'm a Christian.
Right. Okay. And are you religious or are you spiritual?
May I throw that question back to you? What do you mean, religious or spiritual?
And I'm going to throw the question back to you. Whatever that means to you, because that word religious and spiritual means different things to different people.
Yeah.
So what does religious mean to you?
Okay. So religious to me sounds like just doing things because that's what's acceptable as a Christian. So just following without knowing the rationale, the reasoning behind it. And so maybe as a Christian, go to church on Sunday. Those sort of things. That's religious act for me. Spirituality for me is me connecting with my creator, with God, which means I have a relationship with him and he's speaking to me and I'm speaking to him.
Right.
So what I do might not fall in that norm. You know, as a religious girl, these are the norms, and when I do that, people would accept that that's, as a Christian, that's how you're meant to behave.
Right. Yeah.
I might take some bold steps, some things that people might not be able to connect with, because I'm connecting with the spirit, my spirit, that's my spirituality.
So
you're
you're definitely spiritual and not religious.
I would say that.
Okay. So have you in your career, and I know your career spans decades.
Yes, it does.
Have you in your career compartmentalized your faith at some point? And if you have, tell us about that.
So in terms of where I've hidden my faith in the workplace, I would say the early part of my career.
Okay.
So I wasn't outrightly in the workplace prophesying my faith.
Why is that?
Because of the religious aspect of it is, do you talk about religion in the workplace? Do you really showcase this? And I really feel, even up till today, it depends on where you are.
Right.
In your career.
Interesting.
Because there are three things that you don't really, the norm is that you don't talk about politics.
Yes, one.
You don't talk about your family.
Two.
You don't talk about religion in the workplace.
I thought it was money.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Religion. You can.
Okay.
Yeah, religion. And when you're not in a position of influence in the workplace, so somebody else has more control, wisdom permits that you don't just go running about your religion.
Yeah.
You tolerate all. And as a Christian, you do tolerate people.
Well, true, yes.
But as I've progressed and advanced in my career, depending on what the situation is, I don't need to say, because I'm a Christian, don't do this. I'll give you an example. In my current workplace, swearing used to be the second language.
Oh, wow.
But that offends me. And also I'm a D&I, diversity and inclusion advocate. So by them doing and speaking that language, I find it offensive.
And it's not inclusive.
And it's not inclusive.
That's right.
So somebody might say, religious-wise, that maybe because I'm a Christian.
Right.
But that just doesn't sit with me. Respecting everyone. And also when we're going out and doing certain team building activities, it's got to be a place where I feel comfortable.
Well, fair enough.
So now conversations happen. And depending on how the conversation is going on, I can give you a story where my Christian faith came out. But when I started, initially, I would not really have any conversations around that.
Was it because you were afraid or you didn't know how? Or you just didn't have the wisdom?
At the early stage, I think it would have been fear.
Right.
In the sense that I just didn't want them to now hold that against me. There was something. Nobody said a word.
Yes.
But I felt
that
once I declared myself as a Christian, because it wasn't a popular face in the workplace, that I might be ostracized, I might not be accepted,
yes,
and I might lose my job.
Yes, the fear of losing the job.
The fear of losing the job. Forgetting that
it's
God that makes the provision for the job. But then I was really thinking, oh, just getting a good job means I'm feeling indebted to the workplace. Let me just do a good job.
Yes.
But now where I am, maybe my age and that, I can't, Christianity has to come in.
But that's now because you've now got into a place of influence.
I've got a place of authority. Yeah, I'm responsible for quite a lot in my organizations, and if they can't, that's tough. But I don't impose it.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I was saying a few days ago to some ladies, and I said that in most organizations, there is a prayer room. Mm-hmm. In most organizations, there is a prayer room.
Yes.
And in the prayer room, in the times that I went to the prayer room, there was always a mat.
Correct.
Right? Which denotes that a Muslim is there praying.
Yes.
Right? Now, if that's the case, would you say that organizations have now become more accepting of different faiths by actually having a prayer room?
It depends on how you see it.
Okay. How do you see it?
I think under the umbrella of ED&I.
Yes.
Yes. You have to.
Yes.
And organizations need to demonstrate that they are inclusive. They're inclusive. So in some organizations, some faiths don't necessarily like to share the room with others because they see others as sinners. So it's where you draw the line.
Yeah.
So, and some places call it faith room.
Yes.
So they don't really denote it as anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing I've realized that people are tolerant of others. It's just that in different degrees, and there's something called unconscious bias.
That's right.
So that comes into place. But yes, organizations are getting more tolerant of all sorts of things.
You said that in your workplace when you started, the language wasn't acceptable to you.
Yes.
Has the language changed now?
Oh, yes, it has. I find them.
And the reason I ask is because I once worked for a retailer, and in my team, they swore a lot, and that didn't sit well with me to a point where I can't watch a movie once I hear a swear word. And I'm like, can't Hollywood just create movies where there are no swear words anymore, please? And I remember telling my team that, can you please not swear when I am around? And initially they would just brush it off and is that what you found initially when you were trying to change their language, as it were, to suit you?
I guess in this organization is different.
Okay.
Because I deputize as the chief exec.
Okay. That's very different.
So it's different. But maybe in the early stages of my career, or even middle career, where I found it offensive. First of all, I wasn't bold enough to maybe correct it. And then when I was bold, yeah, you're right. Some people would just overlook it and still do it anyway.
Yeah.
But I think most organizations are better informed and enlightened.
Yes.
And they've put in what's acceptable in terms of language, what you speak in the workplace.
That's true. Okay. And how has your faith, because you said about connecting with God, connecting with your spirituality, how has that led you to where you are today? Because you're not a small player in the corporate world. No, it's the truth. No, you're not a small player. And I know that you do a lot for the Black community to ensure that we're excelling and progressing, because there are not many of you at that level, and you see it all the time, right? So how has your faith really helped you? How has it directed you to where you are today?
So I'm going to start from the early stage and then I'll just rush to the end. So in terms of my faith, growing up was very humble beginnings. So my mom single-handedly raised us. So I saw poverty as its core. So one thing that I really wanted was money. I wanted to wear
Those
the
were
lovely
what money.
shoes. Lovely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought my mom would say, work hard. And I
Yes.
did work hard.
Yes.
But working hard alone doesn't get you.
That is very
Yes,
true.
it doesn't get you there.
Yes.
So when I was born here in Wales, went back to Nigeria, I came back after my university degree, but I came back with a second class lower, so I didn't really excel in my degree. But when I came, the normal story was, oh, you have to go and retrain and all that, but I didn't have money.
You're right.
So what do I have to call on? My faith. First of all, God, what do I need to do? He told me,
Wow.
retrain to become an accountant.
Wow.
So I had a degree in
Was that your
computer
first
science.
degree? Okay,
No, my
computer-
first degree was computer science. Now it didn't sound right.
Didn't make sense.
Because this is over 30 years ago and it was novel. If you were, and I was a programmer, I was earning, to get a job, my friends were like, I just got a job. And my job then was paying circa around 27K.
Right.
That's over 30 years ago. And when I prayed, God said, retrain as an accountant. And I looked and I know the best route for me would be a trainee accountant, a graduate trainee accountant. All the roles required somebody with either a first class or second class upper.
So you were
from
already
Russell
disqualified.
University.
You were already disqualified.
Disqualified. Secondly, those graduate trainee jobs were paying £12,000. It didn't add up. Why would I leave
A 27, yeah.
to go for a 12K job? And my friends, but I know that it's better to heed God's voice, because what you see now is really temporary. It's not where God is taking you to. If you understand the bigger picture, I'd rather rely on Him than do it the way I see it or what people are saying.
Was it easy for you to rely on Him at that time?
I guess for me it was.
Okay.
Because my journey has been a journey of faith, and
Right.
I would feel scared to just run my own race. Now, what was challenging was at the time I was still trying to find my feet,
Right.
and I wanted to be accepted with people. So I was dealing with rejection.
Right.
So all my friends saying, "Why would you do that?" Their voices seemed to be more amplified than God's voice. So that was a challenge. But I eventually did that.
Wow.
But it wasn't all that easy because it took me a while to get those jobs, and I did eventually get it. When you get on, you have to pass. You sit 4 papers at a time, pass.
Wow.
If you fail one paper, you fail all, and you're kicked off the scheme.
Wow.
So I started. I was really great to be the first Black woman accepted by that organization on such a program. And what happens? I get the news. I lose my mom. I was 25. I failed. So I got the letter, kicked off the scheme.
Wow.
But my faith kicked in because I was able to find favor with the chief executive. So that was how I started my career journey. And even now, as a senior executive, we've had a challenge in the workplace where things went wrong, the company was going to go down.
Wow.
But I remember my CEO telling me that you seem to be very religious. The last time I went to church, and she's almost 60, was when I was 16. And when this happened, I said, I know God will come through. And everybody looked and thought, no, you've just cost us our job. We're losing our jobs in this merge. Cut the long story short, I'm still in the organization 3 years on. Nothing happened to the organization. We came out of that challenging situation. And my CEO came back to me and said, you know what? I'm going to go back to church now. For me, that's the greatest testimony, not...
I just got
coming out
goosebumps
of
all over
the-
my body just you saying that. Wow.
Yes. So I am a woman of faith. And one of the things I tell myself is wherever I go, I want to be a city on the hill.
That's right.
I want to be seen. But I've come to realize that to have testimonies flourishing in your life, you will go through tests. Now, to go through those tests,
You need to say that again. To have testimonies flourishing in your life, you have to go through tests.
you will go through tests.
And many of us don't want to go
you
through
have
the
to go
test
through the test. You have to go
Wow.
through the test.
because the tests are hard.
They are hard. And honestly, as you're overcoming one step, the next one is even harder. But the journey of faith, if you know,
You walk by faith and not by sight.
and that who is with you. And I believe you've said that before. We've had these conversations, and that when you're sure of the person
Yes.
with you, you know
Yes.
you'll come out of
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So far, your focus stays on God.
Yes.
So whatever I am in life, I know people say you're this, you're that, you're dame, you're this,
Yes. You're many things.
but it doesn't. I don't worry
because you're grounded.
I'm
Yes.
in my faith.
You're grounded.
in God.
Yes.
And wherever I am today is because of Him. So I can't detach it from my life. It's part of me.
Wow. So, knowing what you know today, if you were to look back decades ago, what would you tell the younger Morenike when she's walking that faith walk and it's not making sense. You're smiling because, it's not making sense. Or what would you tell, yes, a younger Morenike to say, now I know? What would you tell that younger Morenike?
That's a loaded question. From a work perspective. Yes, from a work perspective, it would be, don't be shy of God. Embrace him and know that he's your partner in the workplace. Because like I said, in my earlier stages, I did not publicly profound. Yes. The boldness wasn't there about who God was. Yeah. But apart from that, knowing God. So yes, I was going to fellowship, going to programs, but knowing God for myself and knowing who he is. God is I am. Yes. Is whoever you put at the end. Knowing him for myself. I am your provider. I am your this. I am how he is for me. I didn't really know that. Yes. And that might have been because of my childhood, the rejection and all that. And I wanted to be a people pleaser. Yeah. So people will come first.
I can understand that one.
Yes. Yes. But my younger self, detriment. To my own
That's right.
Detriment. But my younger self would be put God first. And it's so key. It's a simple scripture, put God first and every other thing will be added. Yeah. That would be what I would tell myself, because when you identify yourself in Christ, that's where the boldness comes. Okay. That's when you can step into some territories that people wouldn't venture into. That's why I would apply for jobs that were only for people from Russell University. Yes. And I finished from a university in Nigeria. Yes. Yeah. I'll do things that are not the norm. And just take that bold step because I know I've heard from God. So my younger self would pay more time, spending time with God, in his word, knowing how he speaks, because he's always speaking. Yeah. But the business of life, the chasing of different things, we don't hear him talk. So that's what I would tell my younger self.
That is a very good thing. I think I would tell my younger self that as well. I think I'll tell my younger self that as well. But also in the workplace, we've spoken a lot about, so before we started shooting, we're already in deep conversation. How do you think a person of faith, or what would you say is the one thing that is required other than skills? Because of course, for you to get the job, you're talented, you have the skill set, so we know that, right? But as a person of faith, what would you say is one or two things that is really required for you to excel or progress in your career as a person of faith? Yes.
As a person of faith is wisdom.
The W word.
It's so key.
The W, expound on that, please.
So I'm going to expand because wisdom is a very big word. And under that is about emotional intelligence, discernment, know where to be, who to connect with, what to do, and not relying on your own head knowledge.
Logic.
Yes, logic. Wisdom is so key, how you interact in the workplace. So coming from a timid background, now God has given me a voice, I'm bold. So I come into the workplace, my chief executive is doing something wrong. I see it. I'm telling her off. Not wise. And we were loggerheads. I'm like, you don't know this, you don't know that. I'm this, I'm the finance bidder.
Even though what she was doing wasn't right, but your approach wasn't wise.
It wasn't wise. Wow. How do you just talking like that? Yes, it wasn't. What she was doing was not right, but that's not wisdom. That's not wisdom. And then I remember one day she called me, and this is my current job. That was the first 6 months. And she said, I think I need to now escalate this and put, what's they call it? It's a grievance or something.
Wow, against you.
I'm not sure you and I can work in this organization.
Oh my word.
And I'm like, oh, I think you're just partial. You're this, you're that. And I know my onions, there's nothing you can do. And da-da.
So was that confidence or pride? Or just lack of wisdom?
I'll let you define it, but I think it was lack of wisdom. Because there's a lot of tension going on. It was when we were going through this challenging situation and things were just happening. And I just didn't tame my mouth. Yes, I was under pressure. So, but thank God for his grace. In this mist, I was praying, and the first thing God told me, funny enough, you said pride, was humble yourself. Because I knew my stuff. I heard God. I know this is what we're going to do. And tame this. I read Proverbs 1 a day. It's like my pill.
It's a medicine.
It's a medicine for me. Even if I'm doing any Bible study, I would read one chapter a day is my pill. And in there, it tells you a lot about the mouth.
Guard the mouth.
even when certain things, know when to talk and when not to
That's
talk.
right.
Emotional intelligence, read the room and all that.
Yes.
So I readjusted myself. And I remember when we did my one-to-one about 18 months into the role, she said, she had never perceived that both of us would have still been in the room
Together.
18 months down the line. That what changed? And I said, I became wiser. And she said, oh, she thinks maybe there's a bit of more trust in us and things like that. So in the workplace, even for every situation, anything you're going to say, what you're going to do, you need that wisdom. And wisdom just breaks down, like I said, how do you read the room? How do you read people?
Yes.
How do you communicate? When to communicate?
Yes. How to communicate.
How to communicate.
Yes.
You want to say something, how does it land with the other person? Are you really conveying the message that you want to get across?
Yeah.
Or are you putting too much emotions behind it, which was me?
Yes.
So the real core of the message, even though what I was saying was right,
yes,
that's not what people were hearing. They were hearing my emotions.
Yes, and aggression.
And the aggression.
Yes.
And that's why I believe wisdom is so key for every situation.
We could just sit on this thing called wisdom, right? Because I don't even know that wisdom is a thing. Wisdom is a spirit, it's a man, it's different dimensions. But you said that wisdom is emotional intelligence, and that is exciting to me because where we come from, we just speak the way we want to speak, do things the way we want to do things, and then we have this narrative of that's just the way I am, that's just the way I am, that's just the way I am. But that narrative of that's just the way I am isn't going to get you too far in the workplace, right? So when you now say emotional intelligence will tell you that's not the way you are. You can train yourself to be better at it, better at delivering. And of course, there are times that you just have to say it the way it needs to be said. But usually, to your point, you read the room, you communicate. So if emotional intelligence is wisdom, do you think that emotional intelligence is a skill that can be learned, or is something that will be gotten?
I believe it can be learned.
Right.
In different aspects, how do you understand people? How do you understand yourself?
Right, yes.
Because when you understand yourself, okay, you're in a pressurized environment, you start speaking loudly or things, then you know that you're conscious about that fact. So you tame yourself.
So it starts with the consciousness, doesn't it?
It starts with the consciousness. So you consciously train yourself to understand yourself, then understand the people you're working at. So I moved into this organization, they've never seen a black person.
Oh, wow.
A lot of them had worked there for 12, 13 years. It's in Kent. Then a black person in a senior position. I mean, I remember the lady coming to me and one of the members of staff, she's not working directly with me, and she said, I never hear what black people say.
Say that again.
She never understands what black people say.
Right, okay.
She said that before. She says situation as well. She only understands what a Caucasian. She's Caucasian. Right. And the old me would say, then train your ears.
I'm like, go and hug Transformer.
But I had to understand where she's coming from. Genuinely, she hasn't found herself. She hasn't been exposed to black people.
Yeah.
And I said, why is that? She said, I just don't hear it. I said, do you hear Scottish people speak? Do you hear Irish people speak? She said, not really. I said, oh, what do you think is lacking here? Or no, not lacking. I think I said, what do you think you need here? She said, maybe I need to, I don't know, maybe she responded, but the long and short of it was, she admitted, she said it, that I need to get that exposure, I need to train my ears, but it didn't come from me.
I get you. So you put it back on her so questions are always the answers.
By the time we got talking, she realized that she needs to work on this.
She has an issue.
And then I said, maybe just be a bit patient, and if you're not clear, you can say,
can you please explain yourself?
Can you just repeat that? But you need to tune your ears. And I laughed. I said, you know what? When I first came to this country, I couldn't hear a word. And I was born here. But everybody was just speaking. I'm thinking, oh God, what are they saying? And we laughed. Like you did laugh. We laughed.
Yeah.
But can you imagine if I'd gone into that and said, no, you better train your ears. Do you think we would have been laughing?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Now, the flip side to this is when I joined this organization, this lady was a very difficult person. And everybody knew that. And I came in that I can deal with difficult people and I'm going to tame this one. That was my attitude.
Even just your conversation and your way you spoke with her was...
Not at the beginning. I told you, wisdom wasn't there. I came in and she called me a black. She said, a black... What did she say? Black fucking bitch. We had a heated conversation and she said, And I just thought, no, I'm the director of corporate services. You are out of this organization.
Wow.
But to now, where we are now, we're kind of like, I won't say best friends. There's mutual respect.
Yes.
And she listens.
Yes. You're
But
cordial.
the only way I could do it wasn't the way I would have.
It's through wisdom.
It's through wisdom and understand where she's coming from. And I realized that she had a lot of insecurity. So she built these camps in the office. Like she had all these cheerleaders and she was the lord over them.
My friend, yeah.
And that's what made her feel like she was the champ. And now somebody else is coming in.
It's like, how dare you?
Yeah. And number one, people know me. I'm Queen Rennie. That's it. So, I come in and she's thinking, there can't be another diva. I said, oh, yes, there will be. But we're laughing.
I get you.
And
it wasn't a laughing matter at the time. And I'm sure you had to think about it, pray about it, and say, okay, how do I change the situation? Because you can't keep going into places and just being at loggerheads with everybody. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Yeah. And a true leader, because you are a true leader. I've known you for many years. I've followed your work, followed what you have done. You have to be able to get people to understand what you're trying to get them to understand, right?
Yes.
So it's fascinating because even when you have said you didn't have the wisdom, now you have the wisdom, and it's progressive, isn't it? It's progressive because you will find yourself in another test, where you're not going to have to deploy another form of wisdom, and it may be emotional intelligence as well as all this other, discernment and all these other things, right? But what I wanted to ask is this: in navigating your career and being a woman of faith, which you have spoken very highly of, right? Do you believe that we all need to have a certain level of wisdom in applying ourselves at work? Because you've applied wisdom at different times, right? Would you say it's something that we all need to have? Because I always say that there are three types of wisdom. There's the human wisdom, there's satanic wisdom, and then there's godly wisdom.
Okay.
Right? So, human wisdom is learn the skills, get good at it, right? And that will take you so far, right? But it doesn't mean that you have the emotional intelligence to, because we have people in teams that, they're really good at their work, but they don't interact with anybody. Yeah. They just put their head down. So human wisdom has gotten them there. Yeah. Then you have, of course, demonic or satanic wisdom, where you will excel, like the story you were sharing before, where, in 6 months, boom. But godly wisdom, but nonetheless, it's still wisdom. So would you say wisdom is required for us to excel in the workplace?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I can't see how anybody would, like you rightly said, your skills, your qualification will get you only so far. Yeah. But it's another territory, and you've got to understand how it operates.
Yes. Yes. Expand on that. It's another territory.
It is another territory, and it's only wisdom that will give you the insight
into that territory.
Into that territory to be able to function and really excel.
What kind of territory is it?
Ooh, the workplace can be a battle. It depends. It can be a battlefield.
Wow.
So you then need to.
You need arsenals. You need tools. Yeah. And wisdom is a tool.
Wow. To navigate that environment, and also, not everybody believes in you. So I always tell people, when you go into a workplace, you go in there with a credibility pot. How do you fill that pot up?
That's so good.
Meaning how people will trust you, that they've employed you, they're giving the opportunity, but you deliver what they want. Yeah. You're dealing with people, and different people are coming from different terrains and things like that. So even when you're doing the job, some people might not even buy into it.
That's right.
And perception management is another one. You think you're good, or maybe you doubt yourself, but how do others perceive you?
I love that. Perception management. I've never heard that before.
It's so important.
Where did that come from? Perception management.
It's part of wisdom as well. Because perception
that would sit under personal branding, right?
Absolutely.
In the workplace.
It would.
Right.
Yes.
I like that. Please give me permission to actually use that.
Feel free to use perception management.
Perception management.
Because you're a coach as well. And people will tell you that I'm doing great, I'm fantastic, I do my job. I have led so many, and I see people saying, I'm this, I'm that. I'm thinking, not quite, you're not taking it. But they can't see that.
They can't see that, yes.
Because I'm expecting, if you're having the manager title, I'm not expecting you to do as much as you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm expecting you to be giving back and leading your team.
Yes.
But all I see is that you're the one busy bee
Yes.
doing things.
Yeah.
That puts me off because I'm wanting you to build others, to lead the team. Everything shouldn't be just because if you're there, things are working well. When you're not there,
So you become a bottleneck.
yes, that wouldn't go down well with anybody.
Right.
And I say that because that's been me in the past. Because I'm a perfectionist, I want to do a good job. So I have a team, but I'm reviewing everybody's job, chaining it around, working the long hours,
So you're
getting the perfect
micromanaging
job.
them.
Maybe not them, but I'm taking the work. They've done
Yes.
their reports. I'm reviewing everything, and I submit a perfect piece of work. But all those hours, nobody sees it.
That's right. And it's not beneficial to you.
It's not beneficial to me, not beneficial to others.
Yeah.
But I've delivered a big, and they're thinking, you didn't do that. That's your team. What exactly are you doing? When I'm meant to bring the strategic view to the table and add value to it, I'm busy correcting all these things. So there's certain things that don't go down well at different levels.
That's right.
Visibility is another one. Some people just
Yes.
say, I'm only there to do the job, and they come in, do job, and leave.
Yeah.
Nobody sees you.
Where do we get that mindset from? Or that attitude that I'm just there to do? Because everything you're saying, trust me, it's it resonates with me, and it's these are the things that I say. If you're going to excel in the workplace, you need to be visible. I like perception management very well, but you need to be visible. But just going into the workplace to say, I'm just going to do the job, but that's not even what the believer should be doing in the workplace. That's not the ideal for us as believers, correct?
It is, because I think it's not. I think what people sometimes mean is, I want to do a good job.
Is that what they mean by that?
I think some people just want to do their job and they don't want to get involved in the politics around. But if you want to flourish, you have to be aware of the politics. You need to understand how to navigate it. And you need to be present. When I say present, people need to understand what you're delivering, what you're doing. And you must be willing. They're paying you for a particular job.
Yes.
You've got your job description. If you
Yes.
want to progress, you want to do more than that. There's
That's
something
right.
called adding value.
That's right. Yeah.
And the adding value is in your visibility, how you're helping people
Yes.
out, what extras you can do.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
don't just do these extras and keep quiet.
Yeah.
You need to
You
know
need
the
to
key
put it-
people. You need
Yes.
to know the key
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Who are the key players here? They understand. And it doesn't have to be the director or the chief exec.
Yes.
It could be the PA.
Yes.
There's some key players in the workplace.
I like that. Could be the peer. Yes.
Yes, it could be the PA.
100%.
That's emotional intelligence. That's how you're receiving people.
Yes.
That's your perception. How are you seeing that? Who are these key people in the workplace that you need to connect with? They need to understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be a bit more bold in the workplace. But I think generally for Black people, we don't blow our trumpets. We don't necessarily say so much, I think. But that's changing now. And then the ones that say so much, they're really not saying much.
They're empty.
They're really empty.
They're empty.
So you've
But
got
it's
to really have your achievements, and that's what you're talking about.
I agree with you. I call it a brags list. And the reason I call it a brags list is because I see from the life of David in scripture, when he stood in front of Saul, he was bragging.
He was.
Right? And
I've done that, yeah.
exactly, he was bragging. And he said, I was going to take this guy down. And these are the things I have done. I've gone after the bear. I've gone after the lion. I will, get this guy as well. So he stood in front of a king.
Yes.
So when you stand in front of a king, which is a metaphor for anyone in authority, you need to be able to brag.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean brag from a place of having a bad attitude, right? But with confidence,
Yeah.
in humility, because it's what you have done. Now, I don't know how David actually killed that lion, but he did.
He did.
Right? So if you deliver in the workplace, you should be bold enough to say it. Now, you talk about we're not bold enough, we don't speak up. I don't know that that's actually true. And the reason I say that is because in social or at social events, we're loud.
Yeah, because it's a comfort area environment.
Okay, right. So it's a comfort environment, great. But the fact that you can speak in a comfort environment, shouldn't that translate to your work environment as well? Because it's just different environments, but it's the same you.
You're right, but I can talk about my experiences. Sometimes I'm not sure of what to say
Right, okay.
and when to say it, so I'd rather keep quiet. That was then.
That was then, right.
So one example would be I was working with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and as an audit manager, we're wrapping up the audit. It's a boardroom, all white male. Number one, being in PwC, I'm like, then I'm meeting all these. What am I going to say?
Yeah.
I'm there with an audit partner.
Yeah.
who understands the language.
Yes.
Maybe they've hung out doing golf.
Yes.
So he's chit-chatting with all of them.
Yes.
I come into the room, I say good morning under my breath. So I'm hearing myself, but they're not hearing me. So nobody's responded.
Yes. So you're not being visible.
So I go there, I just sit, deliver my work. I say something, they're not even latching onto it. But when the partner says the same thing, they are. So I'm thinking, what can I do in such an environment? I need to have a voice that's heard.
Yes.
So I go back home, speak to my husband. There's something that you watch over the weekend. Who, ha, ha, who? What is that? I need to understand. You know what I'm talking about. That's football. So I said, I need to understand this match.
Yes.
Because I think this would tickle their fancy.
Yes.
And at the time, Chelsea and Middlesbrough were playing. It was FA Cup final.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I like the anthem of the guys in blue. That was Chelsea. So for today, I'm a Chelsea supporter. Once every year, I go to Stamford Bridge. I lose my voice. So I watched the match. So next time, I'm opportune to debrief my audit. So I come into the room. I don't come in quiet. I'm like, did anybody watch that last match? Because I found something I can connect with them. Yes. And all of a sudden, their eyes are on me. I'm now one of them.
You become visible. They can see you.
But I'm now one of them. Yes. I think the reason why we don't speak is because even though we're working there, we've not connected with our environment or we've not connected with the people there. So we don't really know how to socially engage with them. Apart from saying, how's the weather? How's your journey?
That's
in a social environment, the people there, you know how you, if the music is connecting you or something so you feel something is connecting you with those people. But in the workplace, so when we get to the workplace, if you're from another ethnicity, the connection is, I see a fellow black person. I gravitate towards them.
So true.
I make them my friend.
So true. We ally with them. Yes, we ally with them.
There's a fellow person from another ethnicity. Yes. I don't know. There's no common thing.
That's so true.
So I don't know how to interact and say, oh, I've done this piece of work. Because the only connection is work, but then you're so formal and very reserved with each other.
We lack cultural awareness.
So we need to, that's where I was going. Cultural awareness. Then you'll be able to communicate in the workplace. And I tell people that when you're building your network, particularly in the black community, spiritually we have people, and we're talking the Christian language like we did. Yeah. Who is in your professional network? To speak that language.
Listen.
So you can have they're talking about, you need to understand.
Yeah,
they're
your
talking
professional
about AI.
network.
They're talking about different things. How can you engage?
Your professional social capital.
People think visibility is all about the work you're doing.
No.
In most cases, it's about how you can connect with people on a social.
110%.
The last 4 roles I've had, I've not applied for them.
Yes.
I've been reached out because I invest in that environment.
Let's just pause for a moment. That's like a seller moment right there. The last 4 roles, you did not apply.
What I meant, I didn't look for them.
No. I know exactly what you mean by that. And these things are real because your professional social capital is as important as your spiritual social capital, as important as your family social capital.
Absolutely.
But many of us are not putting anything in that pot, especially black people.
Absolutely.
Right? Or people of, ethnic minority. And it's not right.
Nope.
It's so not right. I worked for a hospitality company some years back, and I would get into work really early. And the next lady that would come into work was a Nigerian lady. She would say good morning to me and nothing else. And on this program, there were loads of Nigerian people that I was like, where did they all just come from? But the director was Caucasian.
Okay.
So, and she sat next to the director and I sat on the other side. But other than good morning, she'd never said a word to the director. Now, she got into trouble because she was being victimized and she ran to me because I was in charge of the whole program. And I said, so why haven't you spoken to the director? She said she doesn't know what to say.
Exactly.
You're sat with this director.
Yeah.
You were there before I started and you don't even know anything.
No.
And that just blew my mind completely and totally. And you're right. You have to, this is just a fantastic conversation.
Yeah.
You have to be seen. It's not just in the work that you do. It's, do they even know who you are?
No.
At an event last weekend, a lady asked me, what can she do to be more accepted? I said, well, you don't need to do anything to be more accepted. Just be you. So for example, connect with them on a food level. So I worked at British Airways at one time, and I would cook jollof rice.
Yep.
Right, and we connected on food, which is
yeah.
what you're saying. You connected with
I connected with football,
right?
Yeah.
But why don't we know this?
Well, maybe we don't expose ourselves to the right environment where these things are being said, because some things you can't know everything, but if you have the right circle, you have these conversations. And wisdom will give you the insight to operate in that environment. Now, one of my mentors gave me so when I go into directorship, the first two, I was kicked off. Literally told
lack of
to
wisdom. lack of
because
wisdom.
I was still operating like a manager. I was still there's so for every
it's a different
levels,
mindset,
and how you operate is different. So I realized that, and the CEOs were men, white male. I needed a mentor, but not. So I looked for an old white man who had operated as a CFO via LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I said, I just need to have 3 sessions with you. I don't understand. I think they don't like me. I get these jobs, and before I know, I'm meant to leave. And he gave me a story. He said, there was a lady PA and a male PA. Everyone's Caucasian now. And when the chief executive is going for a meeting, the lady PA will gather all the information in the order of the agenda and put all the work together that the man just needs to get there and deliver. Everything was all done. Perfect. When it came to the gentleman side of so when she's in the car with the gentleman, they don't have any conversation because he knows everything is perfect.
Yep.
He delivers. When it comes to the male, he's done his work, but when he's in the car, he's chatting about the man. Oh, I put your papers like this, I did this, I spoke to this and this and this. Actually, this is not what I want to do. I want to be this. So they're having a conversation.
They're connecting.
He found about the man, and he told the man about where his aspirations and things. An opportunity came up. The lady PA is actually better than the gentleman.
From a technical point of view.
So she automatically thought, she applied, she didn't mention that she's going to get the job. Everybody thought she would because she's really excellent. The gentleman got the job.
Wow.
She was hurt. She went back to the CEO. Why didn't I get this opportunity? Well, I never knew you wanted to move.
Wow.
I thought you were happy what you were doing.
Wow.
But the guy spoke. We need to learn how to connect. Speak. Wherever you find yourself is an opportunity. You come across somebody. What have you deposited in the person, and what has the person deposited in you?
Wow.
Always, we have to work on that. And those things come with time when you expose yourself to the right people.
Those things come with time when you expose yourself to the right people. I know we're running out of time, but you and I can just sit down here and just chat. One thing that I want to touch on is you said you had to go get a mentor. So I want you to just very quickly, before we wrap up, why did you think you need why do you think that you needed a mentor, and what is the importance of a mentor?
So at the time, I needed a mentor because there's an experience that I was getting into directorship, and I had never experienced that before.
Right.
And I thought I needed insight
from
somebody who had already walked that path.
Right. Did your mentor look like you?
I told, like I said, he was a white old man.
Right.
But he was a very CV on LinkedIn. He'd been a professional CFO, and even though I reached out to a few, some didn't come back. He came back.
Yes.
So you must be ready for the no's.
Of course.
But when he came back, I knew that the time with him would be very precious.
Yes.
And I knew exactly what I wanted.
Wow.
How do I operate in this terrain to be acceptable, to build my credibility port? Why am I getting these roles? And after 18 months, I'm out.
Yeah.
Which is really hard.
Yes.
And picking myself up, and I'm like, oh, career nugget founder. I need to be there. I want to represent my faith. I know, women of faith. I want to represent my community. I want people to know that we need to be more. I hate the word, I'm the only black woman on the board. I hate that word. I want more. In my organization, I've brought more black people. That's who I'm called to. I'm called to the black community. I want to see us flourishing. I want to create opportunities for people. So that's why I thought I needed a mentor. And a mentor will share from their experience.
Yes.
But in certain areas where you think, I need to delve more deeper. So I need a coach to coach me in that area. Go for a coach.
Yeah.
And in my career, there's been times that, one time, I wanted to move into senior management. I recognized that my vision was a bit tunnel. I did an MBA, but still, I didn't get that job. I needed a sponsor.
Right, yes.
So there are 3 people that you need. in the workplace, and you need to seek them at different points when you think you need them.
That's right. Oh, wow. Morenike, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on
Thank you so
here.
much.
If there's any last words for our audience, what would that be from you?
Last word, I would just say dream big,
Dream big,
believe in yourself,
believe in yourself,
and just do it.
just do it.
Just do it.
On that note,
Thank you.
it's a wrap.